In this video, I'm going to teach you how to create dynamic action poses. We're going to see how to balance the poses of your characters, understand volume and positioning of the limbs, and how to pose your characters with better flow of action. And at the end, we'll see 3 bonus extreme poses. Let's get into it. Let's start drawing a simple standing pose. We can always make it interesting by pushing his or her body forward a bit, drawing in a torso box that looks a bit rotated, but the top and the bottom parts are not. After drawing the torso, let's make the pelvis box a little bit more straight. We do this to make the character stand and not be just leaning. Alright, these 3 body masses, the head, the torso and the pelvis box, are the heaviest, not including the limbs. Now it's time to balance the pose with the legs. These body masses will weigh down on the legs, so it's important to understand how to pose them. Let's draw a line in the center of these masses, going down about where the feet will be. Each of the legs is going to be on the opposite side of the line, or the dot here. You can experiment where the legs will be. Here is not a strict rule. You can place them in a lot of different positions, assuming the foot closer to the dot will carry more or most of the weight. Or, if the leg splits equally, the weight distribution should be balanced. Alright, for this kind of pose, his left foot, our right, is going to be farther from the dot. This foot is going to be the one that's more relaxed. Not much weight is carried by it. But his right foot, the one on the left for us, will carry most of the weight. That is why it's sitting very close to the dot. Let me give you a little side note. In this pose, his right foot looks like it's sitting upper than the left, and you may ask why. It is because here I'm implementing a little bit of depth with this simple trick. That leg is not shorter, it's just sitting farther from us. And you can emphasize this by placing a sort of ground or a carpet under the character's feet, showing that we are looking a little bit down at the floor. Alright, I see that the head looks a little bit big, so let's just make it a bit tinier, and let's add the arms. I want the arms to be holding 2 swords, so from the shoulders we are going to create a cylinder for the upper arms, going down and out a little bit, and for the lower arms, another cylinder going even farther out from the body. This lower arm cylinder usually has a bump indication on the upper part, and it's tapering down. And for the hand, we can just draw a rectangle shape for now. Great, we can do the same for the other arm. Now we can create a line going from under the shoulder and curving to the bottom part of the torso box, to give him a little bit of volume on the chest area. And connect the torso and the pelvis box with a line and a little bump at the bottom. Let's now draw the 2 swords or sword sheaths going backwards like an X, and delete some lines on the hands to understand that is the hands holding this. To finish this one, let's add 2 line contours on every limb. On this pose, they will look a little bit flat, but on the future ones, some will have curves to better indicate if they are rotating towards or away from the camera. Alright, this pose is done. It's time to move on to the second pose. And for this one, be ready for a lot of corrections, as we try to make it as good looking as we can. Let's create a pose where the character is grabbing his sword from his back. The pose is going to look relatively straight with his legs spread equally. The head, torso and pelvis box will be aligned, so the center line will be in the center. The upper part of his left leg is going to be going outwards, and his lower part of the leg is going to be even more rotated. For the foot, let's just draw this shape for now. Alright, for the other leg, the upper leg will be rotated too, but this time a tiny bit more. For the lower part of the leg, let's make it less rotated. But as you can see, if we try to match the length of the other leg, the proportions seem off, so let's fix that. We need to make the upper leg be shorter, and the lower one much shorter also. It's looking good, but now we need to go back to the first leg and fix that also. Let's make the upper leg shorter. You might have noticed that it still looks like it's reaching lower than his right leg, and that is because this one is less rotated than his right leg, therefore reaching lower. For the lower part of the leg, we can make it rotating outward even more, and making it shorter and narrower at the end. We can do this because it's going away from us, or also rotating backwards. It is a matter of depth here. We will come back to indicate the depth of it later. Let's move to the arms. Starting with the shoulder, let's place it above the top part of the torso box, since we're going to make the arm go up. The cylinder for the upper arm will go up and a little bit left from there, and the lower arm will go behind the head, and the hand will be attached to it, grabbing the sword on his back. For the other arm, let's place it coming to the left. It will balance the body since he has a huge sword on his back. Alright, let's add some form contours to the limbs. Some of them will be almost straight or curving just slightly. For his lower left leg, it will curve since that part of the leg is going back, as I said before. And for his right arm, the contours will curve a good amount too, since the arm is coming in front. Alright, this pose is good, but we can certainly improve it. We can do this by hunching his head and making his torso also bent. Everything affected needs to change too. His left hand will simply be moved a little bit, and for his right arm, let's make the upper arm come more towards us and the lower arm towards the back. Just so you don't be confused, keep in mind that the upper arm means the one attached to the shoulder sphere, and the lower arm is the one attached to the hand. Let's indicate the contour lines to emphasize what I just said. As a finishing touch, we can make better shapes for the feet, both leaning towards the left. Awesome. That is it for the second pose. We can move on to the third one. For this one, let's have a similar pose of the character, where he has the sword ready to swing. Let's have his head turned to our right. For his torso, after we learn our previous mistake, let's make it slightly curved already. And for the pelvis box, let's try rotating it a little bit. Now, let's place the legs slightly spread. His whole right leg will go slightly backwards. The lower part of the leg will be even more rotated. His left leg will go forward, then straight down, creating an opposite type of bending. His right leg will bend outwards, while the left leg bend inwards. I hope that makes sense. Let's fix his pelvis box a little bit, making it rotate towards our left, as the torso, but not as much. This is correct since we drew his left leg, our right, coming towards us. That means that that side of the pelvis needs to do the same. Alright, for the arms, let's place his left shoulder up, and the arm cylinders will go down, then away from us. Let's place the hand for that arm, and the other hand as well, just as rectangles for now. Doing this will make it easy to add the sword on his hands. That's right, you can also draw the hands before the arm. Just make sure the position and rotation is correct. And just connect the other shapes of the arm to it. Perfect, we can move on to the fourth pose. Let's create a pose where the character is defending himself from an attack of some sort. His pose will be hunched, so let's make his upper body very bent. His torso is also rotated and his pelvis even more. His legs won't be balanced as he would be running away. So let's place his left leg on the ground, but it's going to be bent. But his other leg will be very bent, to the point that it's going up a little. And the lower part of the leg will come towards the camera, and we will even see the sole of his foot. For the arms, I experimented a couple of poses for him defending himself with a sword. Some of the variations I tried here had no form clarity. For example, this one. If I were to black it out, we wouldn't understand what's happening in that area, and that means it's not a great pose. It basically is about negative spaces between the character. So let's make it so his arms are a little bit more spread, and that will give us more spaces and clarity. His right arm will be coming towards us, then going up to hold the sword that protects him. His left arm is done in that different order, where we place the hand in the correct position and angle we want, then we connect it to the shoulder in the best way possible. Here, we should even change the rotation of his right hand to make both right. Alright, let's add the contour lines, 2 for each part of the limbs, and let's also make the foot a little bit more stretched. Perfect, we can now move on to the fifth pose. Let's create a pose where a samurai character is ready to strike with a bent position. After adding the head, the body will be very leaned. He is leaning and bending to our left, and we will see his back more than the front. Let's continue this action line of the body. It will help us position the pelvis and the legs. His pelvis will not be as rotated as the body, but his left leg will be going backwards. His right leg will be coming in front. That's why the pelvis is not as rotated as the body. His left arm is going to hold his sword behind his body. Since his arm is reaching under his body, now it makes sense why the body is so leaned and rotated. For the other arm, it will be completely hidden behind the body, so there's no use drawing it. Okay, it's time to move on to the next pose. Let's draw a character, jumping or floating. It's going to be an easy one to draw. After adding his head, let's make his body slightly bent and follow that line to create a nice curve that we're going to use for the rest of the body. We can add the pelvis box a little bit more rotated than the torso, and easily add his right leg, following that line we drew. his other leg will be going up and be bent, and it will go up to the point that his left arm can rest on it. Now, let's make his other arm be slightly bent, and for the hand, what's important here is to try to make his palm not very big. And for reference, try to see how long is your hand. If you align the bottom part of your hand to your chin, the tip of your fingers will reach your hairline, so keep that in mind. Let's make a couple of fingers for his hand, and add a samurai sword that he is balancing. After that, we can add the contour lines for the different limbs. Then add some cast shadows, and we're done. Perfect. These are some good poses that are not so difficult, but we can take it one step forward, making something more extreme. Let's look at 3 extra poses, a tiny bit more challenging. Let's create a pose where a character is bending forward and doing a split. After adding the head, we can make the body on a very high position compared to his head, and it will be bending. Following that bending, this time without a line, we can add the pelvis sitting almost straight, and his left leg very bent, almost like he's going to fall. The upper part of the leg will be rotated, and the second part of the leg will be even more rotated, but just so slightly. And it will be going to the back. That is why it's going to look shorter. For the foot, draw a shape like this. Just make sure that the bottom is pretty much straight and touching the ground correctly. We will fix it later. For the other foot, it is going to be pretty much the same. One part of the leg going to be bent and the other more bent, and the foot on the ground. Although the foot is going to go for the left. For the arms, they will both be going to meet at a low position, but one of the arms will look slightly lower than the other. We can now add the contour lines and finish by adding a sword in both his hands, coming towards us. Alright, time for this second pose. Let's draw a pose where the character is seen from the side, is off balance and is bending. We can draw the head from the profile and his body that will be very curved, following a line with his pelvis box. His left foot will be almost straight and then going down to the ground, where the other foot is going to be more bent. This right foot will technically hold more of the weight, being closer to the center of his body weight. Alright, let's fix his left leg a little for better proportions, and let's add his right hand, reach to the other side where he's holding a samurai sword. Add some contour lines, and these are pretty much straight, and it's done. Alright, there's one more space in the middle of the canvas. Let's add a final pose, where the character is leaning forward, ready to attack. His torso will be very up compared to his body, and the torso will be bending. Let's create a curved line to help place the pelvis. It is something that helps a lot, so add it when needed. The perspective for this one is going to be a view at the floor, so adding the upper leg like this means he is touching the floor with his knee. Let's add the other upper leg coming forward, and we can emphasize this with the contour lines already. The contour lines for his right upper leg will go away from us. Alright, we can add the lower legs now, bend backwards. The lower part of the right leg will look like it's sitting above the left one, simply because it's farther back. The same reason as for the first pose. Alright, for the arms, we need to adjust the torso a little bit so that we can make the arm go back and hold the sword. And the other arm will be bent but come forward and hold the sheath of the sword. Now we just need to adjust his head a bit and we're done. As a final touch on the poses, we can fix the hips of the character splitting. Since he is splitting, his hips cannot look this narrow. They should be looking a tad bit wider. And let's also fix the position of the legs of the character's bending, so that he will be touching the ground. And that is going to be it. We saw some standing poses and some off-balance poses, but I hope you learned something new with this video. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more videos like this. And if you have a suggestion, drop it in the comments, don't be shy. Alright, go practice some poses, and I'll catch you in the next session.